Hello and welcome to a new episode of Game Theory, the #1 DraftKings prep show in all of the land. I'm your host, M.O.N.K, aka the Monkmatician, and I'm happy to welcome you to 2023 for the first card of the year. Finally, we get the first card of the year. The break is over. I hope you had a tremendous holiday season, a tremendous new year, stayed out of trouble. I know you guys did. All of us MMA fans, we don't do shit except do tape study and stat study. So I know everybody here stayed out of trouble. I know I did. So here I am. Since I did stay out of trouble, here I am to bring you a breakdown, DFS style, of all 12 fights happening this Saturday, the 14th, I believe. Don't hold me to that. Headlined by Nassourdine Imavov and That's not Kelvin Gastelum. That is Sean Strickland, guys. I got off of work, checked my Twitter, and the timeline was blown up. Gastelum is out. I don't know what happened to him. It looks like he either got in a car accident or fell off of his bike. I have no idea. His tooth is gone. I have no clue what's going on there. Kelvin Gastelum out of his fight against Nassourdine Imavov. Sean Strickland steps in. Yes, he did just headline the very last card that we saw last year in 2022. He is headlining back-to-back cards as he is now stepping in for Gastelum to take on Nassourdine Imavov, the headlining bout at UFC Vegas 67. And thank goodness he did, because this card was kind of falling apart if that was the case. But I almost enjoy this matchup a little bit more, and we shall see what happens. So guys, I've babbled long enough. Hit the like, hit the sub on this channel if you don't mind as well. It helps out a ton. It only takes you a second. Stick around to the end of the video. We're going to do CM Monk's picks and my personal picks as well. I have them already in the database. I will be showing my personal picks as well, because they're not the same as CM Monk. CM Monk goes off the reservation every now and then and gets a little crazy. I also have a brand new segment or something. I don't know what to call it, but we will call it the pick of the week, and we'll just leave it at that. We're going to call it the pick of the week. So stick around for that. I will show both of those things before we get out of here. So stick with me for about the next 45 minutes or so. We'll try to blaze through these 12 fights and the extra stuff I talked about and get you out of here, guys. So first things first, let's get right into it. First fight of the night, man. We have not seen this spreadsheet in almost 4 weeks, guys. I know you missed it. I know you did. Some of you were like, Jesus Christ, not this again. Yeah, it's this again. However, there are some changes. Every number you see on this is now only the last 5 UFC fights, specifically. I'm still tracking that shit. I mean, I have the old Game Theory spreadsheet is right here. It's the same shit we've always loved and known. Now I'm focusing on the last 5 fights only, guys. I'm less concerned with ancient history and more concerned about recent history. So every number you see is last 5 UFC fights. As you can see up here, number of UFC fights for Cachoeira, 5. She does have 8 UFC fights, but it only says 5 because we're only doing the last 5. She was 4-1. Same with Eubanks, 5 fights. She's 2-3 in her last 5. So we are focusing, again, on the last 5 fights. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. Anything you want to see from the old Game Theory videos and whatnot, hit me up. I'm more than happy to share it. But we're going to start focusing on more recent history. So Cachoeira 7,400, Sijara Eubanks 8,800. This is a battle. 2 tough women right here. Bantamweight fight, it looks like. Cachoeira in her last 5, 3.29 points per minute is what she scored, and she's always allowed a ton of points, guys. I think in her career it's like 5.3. In her last 5, it's 4.84 points per minute. 116 is what she gave up in her 1 loss so far in the UFC, in her last 5, I should say. And she's averaging 100 points per win, so tons of points in Priscilla Cachoeira fights. We do love to see that. Sijara Eubanks, very high scorer as well. 106.90 is what she's averaging in her last 2 wins. Elise Reed and Julia Avila. So fantastic there. Even before that, she was at 95.09 in her UFC career. She's only allowing 79 points, though, in her 3 losses, and that's what where the damper is going to be on here for Cachoeira. So what's going to happen? Who's going to be able to enact their game plan? Are we going to see high scores from Cachoeira, or are we going to see Eubanks keep her in check? That's kind of what we're looking for. Both women are coming in just above their average salary here, $100 and $600 for Eubanks. I'm leaning Eubanks. I like her takedown numbers here. She scores 1 point, I don't even know what that is, 1 points per minute, almost over 1.5 if you include reversals. points per minute in takedowns and control time, while Priscilla Cachoeira is allowing 1.3 points a minute in those two categories in her last 5. That's where the big edge is going to come for me here. I think Cachoeira is probably the better striker. Sijara hits hard as hell. Priscilla might be the better striker, but she's wild as well. She can be really wild. If she gets you on the ground, though, she can ground and pound for sure. But Eubanks is tough as hell, so we're gonna have to see. She did just get finished for the first time in her professional career. In her last fight against Melissa Gatto, she got TKO'd in the 3rd round by Gatto. Yeah, only got hit with 17 strikes all fight, but landed a takedown and a ton of control time, but just got caught there at the end. The strength of schedule here is the big factor. Less than 60 for Cachoeira, well over 75 and 80, close to 80 in 2 categories here for Sijara Eubanks. I'm leaning Sijara. I like her stats better in her last 5. As we said, she does have the better takedown numbers, and Cachoeira is sitting here at just a 61.5% takedown defense. So she also gets hit with 7.73 strikes per minute in the last 5. So guys, I like Cachoeira going 4-1 in her last 5, but her strength of schedule is terrible, and Eubanks is extremely tough. So I'm going to be leaning Eubanks here. I think this one probably goes to decision with Eubanks grinding out a win here, and that's how I'm going to play this one. For DraftKings, I mean, I guess I'll have some Cachoeira because she scores a ton and gives up a ton, but I will have a little bit of Eubanks. I just think she's a bit too expensive. 8,800 is a lot to pay for Sijara Eubanks. Next fight, Charles Johnson. He is Blue right here, nickname, because he is a replacement fighter. Doesn't matter the time frame of when the replacement fighter comes in. He is a replacement fighter. Over the last 2 years, replacement fighters have a winning percentage of just like 35 or 36%. So that is something to consider. However, he is fighting Jimmy Flick, hasn't fought in 2 years. He retired 2 years ago. He is coming back, has fought one fight in the UFC. That was a win. I believe he got a submission over Cody Durden in the 1st round. Before that submission, he allowed 6.86 points per minute and scored 0.8 points per minute in that little 3 minutes there. He was also 8,700 in that fight. He is 7,200 here. Everyone's on Charles Johnson this week, and probably for good reason. Jimmy Flick, obviously, like I just said, retired 2 years ago. Hasn't fought in 2 years. His stats are terrible for DraftKings. Charles Johnson, not much better. 2.34 points per minute, 82.91 in his one UFC win. He allowed 5 points a minute, and his opponent scored 120 in his loss. And I believe that was, Muhammad Mokaev in his first fight in the UFC. Second fight in the UFC. Scored a ton of points on him there. But he did hang in, did not get finished by Mokaev, who was the flyweight DFS fighter of the year. If you check out my videos that I put out over the break. Hung in there with Mokaev, did not get finished, took him to decision. How many points did he score in that fight? Only 17.41, but still. If he can stay in there with Jimmy Flick, I think he's going to have a decent time here and be able to ride it out to a decision. That's kind of how I'm seeing this one. We'll just have to see. I'm leaning Charles Johnson. I don't like the Jimmy Flick's taking 2 years off. Johnson did just get a win over Zalga Sumagulov. I don't think he won that fight, but the judges did think he won that fight. So there you go. Not much to spend. Not spending too much time on this one. I like Charles Johnson for the win. Jimmy Flick's going to have to show me what's up. But Charles Johnson, $9,000. We're paying the tax on the fact that Jimmy Flick hasn't fought in 2 years by spending $9K on Charles Johnson. That's going to be real tough to get to, I tell you what. All these people picking him to win the fight, Johnson, I'll be shocked if half of them even put him in their lineup. So I'd be interested to see what his ownership is later in the week. Whoops. Next fight, Daniel Argueta going against Isaac Dulgarian. We got a, Argueta one UFC fight. He is 0-1. He lost to Damon Jackson, who's also on this card, but went to decision with Jackson, and Jackson did not score very well in that win, in which he was $9,500, scored like 80 points. Big whoops for me. I played the crap out of him in that tournament there and on that card, and I got smashed because he only scored like 80 points. He was $9,500. Isaac Dulgarian has yet to fight in the UFC. No Dana White Contender Series fights either. He is 7,600 this week. He has five or six. I thought it was 6, but here it says 5 professional fights. So I guess it's 5. I swear I thought it was 6. Either way, it's not a lot. Some people I've seen on Dulgarian I mean, what are we doing here? You're going to have to show me something first. His strength of schedule is terrible. Argueta's is not great. It's like sub 70 in 2 categories. Dulgarian is sub 50. You want your strength of schedule numbers, which I do compile just like the BCS does for, just like the NCAA does for the BCS football. That's exactly how I compile the strength of schedule for these fighters' last 5 fights. And Daniel Argueta has a 68 strength of schedule. 70 is decent. You want to be above that. Dulgarian is at 47. His opponent win rate is 46.88. Not good. And like I said, Argueta had a close fight with Damon Jackson, whom I consider a decent fighter, especially at the featherweight division. So I like Argueta here. Long story short, 2.73 points a minute against Jackson is nothing to write home about. He is $1,900 over his previous salary, which was $6,700 from last time. But like I said, I'm going to have to see it here from Dulgarian. This is going to be a high variance fight, so I will have some shares of Dulgarian at 7,600. But either way, that's a very high price to pay for someone who's never set foot in a UFC cage and who has like 5 or 6 UFC or professional fights. So give me Argueta for the win. Hopefully inside the distance. That would help me because I'll probably have more Argueta than I will Dulgarian. Next fight, Nascimento going against Carlos Hernandez. Hernandez 1-0 in the UFC. Nascimento 1-1. 9,100 for Nascimento. We are paying for him after his big win, unanimous decision over Jake Hadley, who I believe is nicknamed White Kong, just so you know. Of course, you're going to beat a guy named White Kong. He did lose to Tagir Ulanbekov in his fight before that, and Hernandez beat Victor Altamirano, who had a big win over Daniel Da Silva later in the year of last year. 91 for Nascimento, though. 2.44 points per minute. 83 is what he scored in that win. He's $2,000, guys. $2K over his average salary, of which Carlos Hernandez is that exact salary, $7,100. He is $1,100 under his previous salary, in which he scored 3.15 points a minute against Altamirano, 77.26 in that decision win. Did score 0.83 points per minute in takedowns and control time. Nascimento allows a ton of those points per minute, but he's a jiu-jitsu guy. He does not mind being on the ground. In fact, he prefers it. He wants to get you on the ground here. Hernandez does have 4 of his 8 wins by submission, but Nascimento has 13 of 19 wins by submission. So I think we're talking about different levels here as far as ground game and jiu-jitsu goes. Here are a couple of stats. Yeah, Nascimento, 20% takedown defense. You can't put stock in that. Like I said, he wants to be on the ground. Hernandez, 75% takedown defense. What is Nascimento's accuracy? 40%, so that's probably like 2 of 5. Yeah, he landed 2 takedowns against Hadley, and I'm sure that's the angle he's going to look for here as well. Let's see. Yeah, man, I'm picking Nascimento for this fight, just because I think there's probably levels to their jiu-jitsu game that favor Nascimento, and I think both guys prefer a fight like that to be on the ground. I mean, it looks like, both guys score a ton of points in takedowns and control time, so that's clearly where they want to be. And if it does go to that, I think Nascimento probably has the edge. So give me Nascimento, probably by decision. 2-1 rounds maybe over Hernandez. I'll be interested to see in what Computer Monk says, because these stats are, nothing, guys. You can tell by my lackluster attitude towards this fight, nothing is really jumping out to me. The 9,100 has a salary win rate, a little salary voodoo here, of 71%. So in the last 2 years, 9,100 has a 71% win rate, while 7,100 has a 29% win rate as well. Both of them terrible optimal rates. So I would, and it fits just with their numbers here, I would avoid this fight. I would big fade this fight, to be completely honest. If you're going to play a side, I don't mind some Hernandez. Nascimento, I think, is going to get the win, though. But, if Hernandez wins, he's probably going to be on the optimal at 7,100. I'm going to fade this fight overall. I'll probably have more Hernandez than Nascimento, and I don't like that. Next fight, Javid Basharat, the guy I've tried to fade twice, going against a newcomer, Dana White Contender Series alumnus, Mateusz it's spelled Mendonca, but there's a little thing on the C. It's Mendonca. Probably. I'm going to call him Mateusz Mendonca. I bet you that's how it's pronounced. I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm not fluent in Portuguese. Like I said, I've tried to fade Javid Basharat, half of the Bash brothers, twice now for no good reason. I'm just like a hater for no reason. I tried to fade him against Gravely because I thought Gravely was going to do well. He was a very good DraftKings scorer up to that point. And I tried to fade him against Trevin Jones because it was his first fight. The fade worked out in the first one, 65 points. 83 is what he scored against Gravely. Does not score well, and now he's $9,200, guys. 550 over his average. That's way too much for Basharat, but he is getting a newcomer here. Newcomers, like I said, have an average win rate of like 36%. Or no, that was replacement fighters. Newcomers have I believe it's like 40%, 39% win rate. So I'm picking Basharat to win here by boring decision. I'm going to be fading this one. I'm not going to be playing a ton of Basharat at 9,200. There is that chance, though, that he does smash the newcomer and score a ton of points out of nowhere, but nowhere in his 30 minutes of UFC fight time has he really looked for a finish or a high score. So unless he somehow gets Mendonca, Mateusz, we'll just say Mateusz, out of there early in the first round, I really don't think much is going to happen here. I will play a bit of Mateusz because he is high variance and $7,000 is very cheap. So I will have shares of him. He would have scored 138 points in his Dana White Contender Series fight against someone named Ashik Ajim, in which he KO'd him in under a minute. But Javid Basharat, like I said, it looks like he's just grinding guys out. 15-minute grind fest. Mateusz has a decent strength of schedule for having no UFC fights. Sorry, my dog is walking around trying to take the most crazy paths out of the room around the green screen. But yeah, long story short, I'm picking Basharat to win by decision. I will have shares of Mateusz here, but Basharat 9,200 for someone that's averaging only 2 fights so far, but 74.3 points per win and less than 3 points per minute, guys. That is not a lot for such a big price tag. He has not made the optimal lineup in either of his past 2 fights, so I might be higher owned on Mateusz than I am on Basharat, but I am picking Basharat to win. Hopefully a lot of people are on Basharat. He wins by decision, scores like 80 points, and their lineups are out. That's what I'm hoping for here. Next fight. 2 newcomers, Mateusz Rebecki going against Nick Fiore. Again, we see this blue line here. Nick Fiore is a replacement fighter, 36% win rate, or 35, whatever I said before. 35, 36% win rate. So keep that in mind. I'm picking Rebecki here. Neither guy has a UFC fight. Rebecki has the Dana White Contender Series fight. He would have scored 106.5 points in that win. 5.33 points per minute is what he scored. He allowed 0.39 points per minute in that fight. Scored almost 5 points a minute in takedowns and control time. That's what we were looking for in his 3-minute victory. He is 9,400, the most expensive fighter on the card. I think he's like a minus 700 favorite, I believe is what I typed in right before I started recording. I guess we could look here. Yep, minus 700 is what he had. Nick Fiore plus 484. I'm taking Rebecki here. This seems like probably an obvious pick. 9,400 has a salary win rate of 82.69%. That's an optimal rate of 34.62%. So yeah, I'm on Rebecki here. 9,400 is a lot to pay, especially for a newcomer, but he might be worth it going against another newcomer with only 6 fights professionally. That's the other big thing. Rebecki, 17 fights professionally. Fiore, short notice, 6 fights professionally. Yeah, Rebecki has finished 14 of his 16 wins. Fiore has finished 5 of 6. So if Rebecki can stay away from the submissions of Fiore, because he has 4 of his 6 wins are by sub, then this should be pretty easy here. I'm picking Rebecki. I probably won't have much of Fiore in many lineups, although it is newcomer versus newcomer, so extremely high variance. Maybe I'll have like 5-10% Fiore, but not much more than that. I don't see a reason for all that. Next fight. Abdul Razak Alhassan, speaking of newcomers, going against newcomer Claudio Ribeiro, Dana White Contender Series alum, would have scored 27.5 points a minute, 126 in this win, in that Dana White Contender Series win against someone named, I love this name, by the way, Island Ivan Valenzuela. What a great name that is. But Ivan lost in less than 30 seconds against Claudio Ribeiro, who now we get at a dog salary, 7,900 going against 8,300. Abdul Razak Alhassan. This fight is very easy to break down, guys. Abdul Razak Alhassan has 11 pro wins. He has 11 finishes. He also has 11 finishes in the first round. So every single one of his wins has been first round knockout. He is 1-4. 1-4 in his last 5. That's why you see his raw DraftKings points per minute 2.15. Offensive pace, dog shit. That is a terrible pace. But his one win, he scored 125.4. This is Derek Lewis syndrome. This is, I don't do anything except when I knock you out, I score a ton of points. Other than that, no offense whatsoever. So if you think Alhassan, I mean, he's got a newcomer here. This is could be a setup for him to knock this dude out in the first round, do what he does, much like he did against Alessio Di Chirico. But he's lost against Lazez. Williams knocked him out, lost against Malkoun, lost against Buckley. If he doesn't win in the first round, guys, he does not win. That's it. That is it. $8,300. So you're getting a very cheap, high first round knockout guy. Let's see what his career numbers are. 3.12 points per minute. So a point more per minute. But 126.89 in his 5 UFC wins. So I don't mind 8,300 for Abdul Razak Alhassan. That said, I don't think he's going to win. My pick is Ribeiro. I will have both gentlemen rostered because this fight for sure is going to be fireworks. I think Ribeiro could knock out Alhassan as well. He has, 9 of his 10 professional wins have come by way of KO TKO. So, sorry, I have some sort of hair that's hanging into my eye and it's poking me and making my eye water. One of these guys is getting finished, man. And if this one gets out of the first round, it's probably going to be Alhassan getting finished. If it finishes in the first round, it's a cat's game. It's anybody's game. So I'll have both guys rostered. I like Ribeiro for the win. I like that he's a dog price. I will have more Ribeiro than I will have Alhassan. But one of these guys is going to sleep for sure. Get him in your lineups. Absolutely. Absolutely get him in your lineups. Next fight. Umar Nurmagomedov going against Raoni Barcelos. This is a damn good fight. I've been looking forward to Umar Nurmagomedov fight for quite a while now. 9,300. He's not even the most expensive guy on the card. 9,300. What's his number against Barcelos here? Whoops. Where's my keep clicking all around. Minus 670. So he's almost the highest, widest odds on the card. Almost to Rebecki, but not quite. Nurmagomedov over Barcelos. I wouldn't be betting it because this is a ridiculous disrespect towards Barcelos. But I personally don't think this fight's going to be close, guys. I really don't. I think Barcelos is a fantastic fighter. I really like him as a fighter. He has a loss against Victor Henry and Timur Valiev, 2 guys I think Nurmagomedov would just fuck up. Like Victor Henry, he would absolutely smash him for sure. That's just what I think Nurmagomedov's like the real deal. And I think he's going to smash Barcelos here. I just do. Nurmagomedov in his 3 fights in the UFC, 4.91 points a minute. 107.33 is what he's averaging. He allows just half a point per minute. Now, the issue is Barcelos does not allow, any points. He has a fantastic defensive pace, 2.38 points a minute, 87.79 points per loss, in which he has 2 of them in his last 5. Again, we are only going on the last 5 numbers. His career defense is pretty much the same thing. Barcelos, if you're on the Barcelos side, he is $2,000 cheaper than his average salary in his last 5. So that is fantastic. Umar is $233 cheaper than his average salary. His average value is the best on the card, 11.26. His ceiling is higher than Barcelos as well. 70% win rate for the salary of 9,300. Umar has made optimal 1 out of his past 3 fights. I believe that was his first fight against Sergey Morozov, in which he scored 111.71. He put up 105 against Kelleher, and he put up 104.87 against Manus. And now he's cheaper than any of his previous 3 fights, and he's going against Raoni Barcelos. Guys, the issue here is Barcelos, I know what people are going to say. He has fantastic takedown defense. It's 100%. It is 100% in his last 5. What is it in his career? 93.75. He's allowed 1 takedown, I believe. Nurmagomedov's going to take him down. Nurmagomedov's going to get control time. Nurmagomedov is going to get some ground and pound here. He may not finish the fight. In fact, he is yet to finish by ground and pound in the UFC. He does have 2 submission wins. One's over Morozov, one's over Kelleher. Barcelos has been finished professionally just once by submission. It could be there for Nurmagomedov, or he could just wear on him for 3 rounds and rack up a ton of points. That's kind of how I see this one going. I'm picking Nurmagomedov by decision. I'm hoping he scores a ton of points. Over that 107.33 would be fantastic. But anything over 100, I am taking, because he's cheaper than ever. He's been 9,500 twice and 9,600 in his other fight. Now he's 9,300. So give me all that salary savings. I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but it really, really helps when someone like Umar Nurmagomedov is not even the highest salaried guy on the card. So I'm playing this all day. Give me Nurmagomedov. I will likely have 0 Barcelos. None. No Barcelos. Next fight, Ketlen Vieira going against Raquel Pennington. A lot of people on Vieira this week. I kind of like Pennington here. 3.06 points a minute is what she's scoring in her last 5, in which she's 4-1. 85.81 per win. Guys, I'm not playing a ton of this one for GPPs, but I don't mind, maybe some cash games, I suppose, if you're looking for a dog. I like Pennington here. Pennington, best defensive pace on the card. Points per loss on the card. 65.25 is all she allowed in her one UFC loss in her last 5. That was against Holly Holm. Only gave up 65 points. She gives up less than 3 points per minute, and she is 420 under her average salary. All numbers better than Vieira, who scores only 2.31 points a minute in her last 5 and 80 per win. That's all we're looking at here. It's 80 per win. Look at these. I think this is going to decision. Both women average about 80 points per decision win, and far less than that is what they give up when they lose. Neither one scores a ton of takedown and control time points, about half a point per minute here. Pennington does allow significantly more than Vieira does, so that could be an angle for Vieira to get it on the ground and just win minutes. So we will have to watch out for that, but Pennington is pretty strong. I thought she was going to be the bigger fighter here, but probably not. Looks like she's given up an inch of reach and height, but Pennington is pretty strong, and she can be difficult to take down, although her takedown defense is only 62.5%. Meanwhile, Vieira set 92.31. So one of these fighters wouldn't mind if this goes to the ground, and one of them really wants to keep it on the feet. So I'm going to pick Pennington to win, a little underdog pick here. I think this is going to be a very close fight. I think Vieira can win easily. There's definite paths to victory here. But I am going to take Raquel Pennington at a dog price of $8,000. Anything on the graph here? Not really. Not really. I'm not going to really explain this to you right now. You can freeze frame it. It's basically the left side of the graph is Ketlen Vieira numbers compared to what Pennington gives up. So striking points from Vieira to what Pennington gives up. Actually, Pennington has been giving up more and more striking points each and every fight. Pretty even keel as far as ground points, but Pennington has been giving up more and more points, but Vieira has been scoring fewer and fewer, so it kind of balances out. That's kind of what we're looking at there. My pick, Raquel Pennington. Close fight. I really don't know who's going to win. I'm picking Pennington, though. Next fight, Punahele Soriano going against Roman Kopylov. The Chase, I almost said Sherman, Chase Hooper lookalike. Punahele Soriano, 8,500. Very cheap price for Puna. He is $20 under his average. 3.27 points per minute. 112.83 is what he's averaged in his previous 3 wins. Fantastic numbers. 2 of his 3 wins over 110 points. Love to see that. His ceiling is 131, the 3rd highest on the entire card. Love to see that as well. Average value over 9. So some very promising numbers from Mr. Soriano, who also has the best power index on the card at 2.72. Fantastic. 3rd best average fight time, 8.71. He's out here finishing fights. 8 of his 9 professional wins have been finishes. Then we have Roman Kopylov, 1-2 in his 3 UFC fights. He is $7,700. Both guys making the optimal lineup in one of their previous, in one fight each, I should say. 2.12 is all Kopylov scores. 80 points is what he put up in his win. Didn't allow anything so far defensively, less than 80 points per loss on average. Very consistent fighter as far as not giving up points, but has been finished once in his career by sub, never been KO TKO'd, and that's kind of what we're going to be looking for here from Soriano. The strength of schedule Not even really close, further than 5 points away, sometimes 10 points away in a few of these categories, all favoring Soriano. Kopylov losing to Karl Roberson, Albert Duraev, and then beating Alessio Di Chirico, KOing him. I remember this KO TKO late in the, not late, but well into the third round. I think it was like the 12th minute. He made the optimal lineup in that fight too, actually. He only scored 80 points at $8,000, made the optimal lineup. Puna has, shown to just die against wrestlers. Brendan Allen, Nick Maximov didn't do anything, but he smashed Pichota, smashed Todorovic, smashed Lungiambula. I mean, takedown accuracy for Kopylov is 33.33%. What are we talking about here? Kopylov scores only 0.14 points per minute in takedown control time and reversals per minute, guys. That's it. So Kopylov is not really going to be taking you down. He's the opposite of Nick Maximov pretty much. Soriano, if he can keep this on the feet and Kopylov wants to kind of swing with him, this could be interesting. Soriano, hopefully he's working on his wrestling as well. So I love Soriano here. I think he was like 160 the other day. What did he go? 163, minus 163 is what he's at on average right now. I might jump in on that. I probably should have jumped in the other day. But I like Soriano here. I think he keeps it going with another KO victory. Hopefully in the first round. I like Soriano at 8,500. That could be tremendous value for a guy with such a high ceiling. 131, averaging 112.83 per win. If we get 115 points out of Soriano at 8,500, that is a guaranteed optimal, guys, for sure. Next fight. Co-main event of the evening. We've got Dan Ige. 50K Dan Ige going against Damon Action Jackson. I love this fight. Dan Ige, last 5 does not do Dan Ige, does not paint him in a good light, I should say. Ige 1-4. Let's see. His power index is almost equal to his chin index. Scores 1.71, sorry, chindex. 1.79 points per minute. But the Derek Lewis syndrome here, again, 125 is what he put up in his one UFC win. That is good enough for first overall on the card, but it's only one UFC win, and it was against Gavin Tucker, I believe. Yeah, KO TKO'd him in less than 30 seconds. Ige has given up almost 3.5 points per minute in these last 5 fights, and 98 on average per loss. That is a decent amount of points to be giving up. He's also $820 over his average salary. I do not like anything about Ige's side of things from this fight. Now there is a path to victory for Ige here. It is the I'm Dan Ige. I'm not washed. I know I'm 1-4 in my last 5. Jackson looked fantastic in his last one, but that's only because he had a tragedy befall him and his family, and he was fighting, like a man possessed. So if I'm Dan Ige, I know all of this to be true. There's no way Jackson can keep up the pace he put on, I believe I was going to say Sabatini in the last fight because of what he was going through. So it's going to be a more reserved Jackson. So I'm Dan Ige. I'm not washed. I'm going to take advantage of those things, and I'm going to get my first finish that I've had in a dog's age against Damon Jackson. I can see all of this happening, okay? If that's Dan Ige, that's what I'm going to be targeting. But I love the Jackson side here. $7,800 in his last 5. Check out these numbers, guys. 4.3 points a minute, 100 points per win. And if you score 100, I believe if you score 100 points in your fights, I know the salary makes a difference, but salary salary out the window. Score 100 points, you make optimal lineup like 80% of the time. So if you score 100 points, 80% optimal right there. That's fantastic. So we're at 100 right there. He allows 2.93 per minute. 112 is what he gave up in his one loss in his past 5. But I believe that was to Ilia Topuria. So, Jackson also scoring 2.39 plus that. So almost 3 points per minute in takedowns, control time, and reversals, guys. Almost 3 a minute. Ige is giving up over almost 1.5 points per minute in those categories. That's how I think this one's going to go. I think Jackson can have his way with Dan Ige and Dan Ige's 40.91% takedown defense in his last 5. 40.91% takedown defense against Damon Jackson's 55% takedown accuracy, third best on the card. Controls 86.94% of all grappling time he's engaged in. does Damon Jackson. 86.94%, and he spends 72% of his fights fighting inside the distance. Dan Ige is going to try his best to keep this on the feet. If he cannot stuff Damon Jackson's takedowns, this is going to be a long night for Dan Ige. I'm picking Damon Jackson to win. I think he does get the job done. I think whether this goes to decision or finish, I think Jackson can score very well. If this goes to decision and it goes how I hope it goes, Jackson's just going to rinse and repeat takedowns. He's going to dominate the control time. He's going to land some ground and pound and just rack up a ton of points, guys. I know Damon Jackson, he's a bald guy like myself. He looks like he's 40 years old. He's only 34. Okay, he's only 34. Dan Ige almost looks older than him. Okay, we're not going to go that far. And Dan Ige is 31, so 3 years younger. But in no way is either guy ready to say goodbye to the sport. So the only other thing here is strength of schedule. Dan Ige losing to guys like Calvin Kattar, Chan Sung Jung, Josh Emmett, and Movsar Evloev. Those guys are world beaters. Damon Jackson lost to Ilya Topuria, another world beater, but beat Charles Rosa, Kamwela Kirk, Daniel Argueta. Pat Sabatini is a very good name to beat. The other three guys, not so much. So the strength of schedule is a big issue here. Obviously, that goes to Dan Ige, but I think Jackson has a game plan, has the potential to set the game plan that can beat Dan Ige. So I'm picking Jackson here. I will be playing some of Ige because at 8,400, his path is a big early KO of Action Jackson. So give me a little bit of Ige at 8,400. That's a hell of a deal. But Ige at 1-4, I'm not too interested in. Jackson at 4-1, 4.3 points a minute. I know he can be spoiled, but I'm liking the Jackson side of things here, and that's how I'm going to play this one. Headlining fight, guys. We did it. Hit the like, hit the sub on this channel as well. Thank you so much again. Sean Strickland, again, stepping in for Kelvin Gastelum. If you missed the beginning of the video, like how could you have even missed it? It's not like you're watching this live. But Kelvin Gastelum out of the main event. I do not know what happened. I've seen a million people report that he's out. No one's told me why. I've just seen a picture of him missing a tooth, and he's got like a gash under his eye. But other than that, I'm not really sure what happened. So either way, Kelvin Gastelum out, Sean Strickland in, headlining his second UFC card in a row, going against Nassourdine Imavov. Again, guys, we've got a replacement fighter. Let's just show you. Let me just make sure. Obviously this looks really crazy, but this is like my new holy grail. It's my DFS dissection. I will be sharing it at some point. You guys can be some of the first to see it. Other than my Patreon members, please check out my Patreon. Link is in the description. For a couple bucks a month, you guys will get probably way more stats than you'll ever need. Replacement fighters are blue. Sean Strickland right here. They have a win rate in the past 2 years of just 35.6%, guys. 35.6%. Opponents of replacement fighters have a win rate of 60.73%. So take that with what you will. I think Rebecki's going to win, and Fiore is the replacement there. Charles Johnson, maybe Charles Johnson is the one that loses. I can't see all replacement fighters winning this week, so that would go far against the stat I just read you. Excuse me, far against the stats I just read you. So, yeah, that would be pretty insane. Either way, Strickland, Imavov, that is the fight we have now. Imavov, the taller guy, according to UFC stats, whom, can or cannot be believed occasionally. 6'3" for Imavov, 6'1" for Strickland. I don't know the salaries for this one yet. The salaries were Imavov 87, Strickland 75. I still have those salaries listed. There are no other salaries less than, in between 87 and 75. They're all being taken. So unless there's a few options here for DraftKings, and it depends on what the odds are. The odds are, opened wide, and they're getting narrower, more narrow and more narrow. We can either see a doubled salary, like we're going to have them at 83 and 79, like whoever else that was, or we'll see it at the same salary, 87, 75, or we'll see the first in a long time, 8,100, 8,100. That is a possibility here. So do not rule that out. 8,100 for each of them is an absolute possibility. As of now, I have it at 87.75, but I don't know what the salaries are. It is Monday night at 7:45 when I'm recording this. So anyway, Sean Strickland, 307 is what he scores per minute, 100 per win. That is fantastic. At 7,500, you put up triple digits. You're probably landing on the optimal lineup. He's only giving up 2 points per minute, but 98 per loss in his 2 UFC losses in his last 5. Nassourdine Imavov, 2.6. All of his numbers are worse than Strickland here. You guys can read these. 8,700 is what Imavov costs. He has made the optimal in 2 out of his past 4 fights, while Strickland just once out of his past 5. Strickland is pretty much a decision machine. In his last 5, 4 of his last 5, I should say, have gone to decision. He got KO'd by Alex Pereira, and he has gone to decision in all 4 of his other fights. 3-1 is what he is in those decisions. Yeah, the salary win rate, that doesn't even matter. We don't know the salaries. We don't know the salaries. Yeah, neither guy really scores very well in their last 5 fights. Imavov only has 5. That was gross. I don't know what that was, but something, it was like fuzz in my mouth or something. I don't know. Let me take care of that here. Little something to forget. I don't know what I was saying. I guess I forgot too much. Just Men in Black'd myself. Let's see. Nassourdine Imavov scores 0.72 points per minute in takedowns and control time. Sean Strickland allows 0.01 points per minute in takedowns and control time in his last 5. So nothing. He allows nothing. Has not been taken down. Let's see here. What else? I mean, neither guy's stats really jump out at you. You think this one's, it's probably going to go to decision. It's probably going to be an 80-point decision victory, just like it was against Cannonier, just like it was against Hernandez. He did score 144 against Uriah Hall, so that also is boosting his numbers big time here. But before that, yeah, he only put up 92 against Hernandez, split decision, 5-rounder, 63 against Jotko in a decision. Meanwhile, Imavov, 73 against Williams, 70 against Buckley. He KO'd Shabazi and didn't even score 100. KO'd Heinisch, didn't even score 95. Personally, I would fade this fight. I was going to be fading it in general. I figured Imavov would be high owned and expensive, and he kind of was both of those things. I don't know about ownership, but you know, main event guy, you figure he's going to be high owned, especially the favorite. People just, you know, think that's a guarantee. So I was hoping to play off of that. It's not like I was going to be playing Gastelum. That would have been crazy to play a ton of him. Maybe a little bit, but I mean, we'll have to see what Strickland's salary is going to be. If it's 7,500, excuse me, if it is 7,500, you play the shit out of that. But as of now, I'm fading this one as a whole. Big fade on the main event. I don't like how either guy scores. Even in their careers, nobody's scoring a ton. You know, 93 per win for Strickland, 84 per win for Imavov. I know that's the same here. But yeah, I like Strickland by decision. Strickland by decision, yeah. I don't think Imavov's going to finish him. I really don't. But if he does, I would be very surprised. All right, guys, we did it. That's all 12 fights happening. UFC Vegas 67. Don't go anywhere. We're going to go over Monk's picks. See Monk's picks and my picks. Before we get out of here, the yellow and blue picks are CM Monk's picks. He's going with Sijara Eubanks, Charles Johnson, Daniel Argueta, Carlos Hernandez. The upset over Basharat, Mateus Mendonca, which, wow, interesting. Mateusz Rebecki, Claudio Ribeiro, Umar Nurmagomedov, Raquel Pennington with the upset, Puna Soriano, Damon Jackson with the upset, and Sean Strickland with the potential upset, but the outright pick is Sean Strickland. That is how CM Monk sees things. Here are my actual picks, my personal picks. We're going with Eubanks, Charles Johnson, Daniel Argueta, Alhassan Nascimento, Javed Basharat, Mateusz Rebecki, Claudio Ribeiro, Umar Nurmagomedov, Raquel Pennington, Punahele Soriano, Damon Jackson, and Sean Strickland. So we do see eye to eye on several picks, but a few of them we disagree on. So like I said, yellow and blue are CM Monk's picks. CM Monk is the database that I built that basically predicts not predicts, but just goes based on odds. Tons of different stats, like 200 and some stats go into it. So that is how I make my picks there. And these are my personal leans down here. These are my personal picks. I will be tracking both categories this year. We finished just at 60% last year for CM Monk, so we're looking to improve that. Hopefully we can do that. And also, it should be noted, CM Monk picking only 3 finishes. 9 decisions is what M.O.N.K is picking. So this could be a very long fight card with lots of 15-minute decisions, but we shall see. Guys, one more thing before we get out of here. It's the pick of the week. I know I alluded to it. It's the pick of the week. Let's just put it up on the screen. Let's just do it. The most owned, no nonsense. You like that? Most owned, no nonsense pick of the week. The M.O.N.K pick of the week. Copyright. Most owned, no nonsense pick of the week. Nurmagomedov, guys, $9,300. Get this man in your lineup. I personally think he's going to smash Raoni Barcelos. He's going to smash Raoni Barcelos. I think it's going to be a decision win in which tons of takedowns will be scored, tons of control time will be racked up, and tons of ground and pound will be landed. Nurmagomedov is my most owned, no nonsense M.O.N.K pick of the week. Guys, do you love that? I absolutely love that. Had to do it to you, had to drop it on you. That's going to be a consistent thing now. The most owned, no nonsense. Let's just go back. That was such a nice graphic. Most owned, no nonsense pick of the week. 9,300. Nurmagomedov. He's not even the most expensive fighter on this card, guys, and it does look like a decent card. Usually I hate cards where there's tons of unknowns. We have 5 guys that are making their debut here. I usually hate that. This could be a week where it's an exciting bunch of fights, so really looking forward to that one. We've got Punahele Soriano. I think Vieira and Pennington could be a good fight. I'm staying away from it in DraftKings, but I think that one could be a good fight. We'll see what happens with Jimmy Flick. Cachoeira Eubanks could be fireworks to start off the card. We have Alhassan Ribeiro. That one's definitely going to be fireworks. Jackson and Ige is going to be tough, and Imavov Strickland hopefully will be good and not a snoozer, but we shall see. Guys, thank you so much for joining me. As usual, I want all of you to enjoy the fights, so enjoy, and we will see you in the next one.